I had a 17-year-old who had shot himself in the chest, and that messed me up for a long time. I've wanted that kid to be okay so bad. I was not okay after that.
What's up, motherfuckers? Hope you're having a great day. Welcome to the very first episode of the Badass Motherfucker podcast, where we talk to and highlight exceptional healthcare workers nominated by you. Today, we kick off with an absolute legend, Ashley Goodman Ford, an ER nurse with over a decade of experience under her belt working out of Gulfport, Mississippi. We discuss how she literally tackled a combative patient to protect her coworkers, her strategies for burnout, and the realities and challenges of working deep in the hood of Gulfport, Mississippi. Ashley truly is one badass motherfucker, and I cannot wait for you to hear her story. Hi, Ashley. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm very good. I've never been to Gulfport, Mississippi. Is there any trauma-specific things that happened in Gulfport, Mississippi that might not happen anywhere else?
This probably happens all over the country, but we get ground level falls from your elderly population, broken hips, and that's like the main trauma call that we get is a ground level fall with their obvious deformity. They've broken their hip. Some gunshots sprinkled in, some stabs sprinkled in, but it's mostly broken hips.
But we have a couple stories from Deanne about you guys had a pretty bad day. There were some back-to-back traumas, and some horrible things happened. And you took it upon yourself to slow everybody down, voiced your emotions, and gave everybody else the space to kind of say how they were feeling.
I was not okay, and I couldn't get myself together to be able to go and take care of my other patients. Like, I just needed to talk to them. I needed to stop for a second so that I could, bring myself together enough where I would be able to provide adequate care to the other people that were there. So it was like two separate situations that happened. There were multiple gunshot victims that came in, young people during spring break. And then the next day or only a couple of days later, there was a 14 or 15, 16 years old, pregnant, shot in the head. They come rushing into the ambulance bay with her. We pull her out of the car. There's blood everywhere. We, code her. And of course, we know that there's nothing we can do because we had no idea how long she had been down. But she was pregnant, and the doctor put the ultrasound on her stomach to try to figure out how old the fetus was, if we need to do an emergency C-section. And I can see the baby's heartbeat. I can see the baby, and the baby's still alive, but the baby's too young. We can't deliver it. It wouldn't survive.
Wow.
So we all were in the room, and we had to watch the baby's heartbeat get slower and slower because the mom was dead. And that was not okay. I was not okay after that. And I couldn't normally I can suck it up and I can move on to the next patient and, I'll deal with it later, decompress later. But I came to my charge nurse, Vicky, who was like our mom in the ER. And I was like, I'm not okay. I can't get myself together to go do what I need to do. And I start crying, and I'm like, are y'all okay? I mean, we just had to let a baby die. Can we talk about it? This has never happened to me before. And, so we kind of had a little debriefing right there at the nurse's station, and everyone was able to voice that, no, they're not okay. This is really one of the most awful things they've ever had to experience. But I think it was an opportunity to kind of get it off of our chest so that we could move on and take care of our other patients. But that was probably one of the worst situations that I've come across in the ER. There are many more, but that was one of the worst.
Yeah. Oh my God. That sounds really bad. There's a lot of things that happen in the ER, but some of these, they just stick with you. I remember I was retelling a story to one of my sisters, and I forgot it had happened. It was 4 or 5 years ago. I started telling it, and I just started crying out of nowhere. And I realized I had not processed it yet. It was just like one of the things where like it happened and I moved on and I forgot about it,
Yeah.
you know?
That happens too, where I'm like retelling a story and then I'm like, oh, I'm getting choked up. Like, I guess I didn't fully process these emotions.
Did she have family there? Who brought her in?
It's a really bad situation. So it was her boyfriend and the boyfriend's friend brought her in. The boyfriend's also the father of the child.
Yeah.
And it turns out he's the one that shot her. She was laying in bed sleeping. He shot her. They drug her down the hall and threw her in the car and came to the ER to, I guess, try to make up a story of what happened. And when the vehicle pulled up, there were gunshots in the SUV. So we thought, oh God, this has been a drive-by. Like, no, those gunshots were from a totally different incident, weren't from that day.
Oh my God.
Of course, he's like, oh my God, my baby mama's been shot, and making a scene like, he got me. I thought he did, had nothing to do with it because he seemed so upset.
Yeah.
But the cops took him into custody and, a few days later it came out that he admitted to shooting her.
You are fucking kidding me.
It was.
Yeah. And people wonder why, like, we get so upset with people who come into the ER. It's because, like, you get one bad egg like that and it will fuck you up for a good portion of your career. Like, how can you trust people after that,
See, I'm sure you've seen a lot worse things because you're in a different part of the country. But there was a situation where a man brought in his significant other. He had beaten her to death with a pipe. And the radiologist came from his little area where he reads to the trauma room to look at this patient because he couldn't believe how awful the CT scans looked. He had to come and see the patient in person. This man had this woman's child doing CPR on her on the way to the hospital.
How old is the child?
I think she was 11 or 12. And then on camera, you see him taking the patient out of the car and he smacks her head on the door. I mean, she was already gone. I don't know how long he waited before he brought her in, but I'm 36. She was my age and she had 2 or 3 children.
Oh, man. Ashley, like, tell the people how you do it. And the crazy part is, like, people don't understand, like, in the ER, we get patients who pass all the time, right? But for the most part, they're old, like, they've lived their life. Like, stuff has happened to them. When you get older, it's inevitable. Like, shit goes down, right? Like, you get sick, right. Your body breaks down. But to have someone who's any less than 40, I want to say, right? That's way too young. And, like, your two stories about a girl who's pregnant, I can't imagine she was any more than, like, early 20s, mid 20s, and a 26-year-old who's, beaten by her partner. It's so sad. And like, no, like where I work, we don't get those that often. I worked at hospitals that were in great, really ritzy areas. Fortunately, I worked for Stanford and I worked for UCLA. So, I did not get a lot of those.
My hospital is in the hood, like deep in the hood. So if something happens, also we're a level 2 trauma center. So if something bad happens, it's coming to us first before, if it requires a higher level of care, then we'll transfer them out. But we're the only level 2 trauma center, on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. Yeah. So the younger people are hard. And then like what is hardest for me is the kids. When we have to, kids are my favorite patients. Like if they come in, they have a lack and you fix them up and that's my favorite patient. But a really sick kid or, like we had coded a 3-year-old that had drowned and we got him back. He had a heartbeat, but we all knew that he was brain dead. And that's the hardest ones to get past for me. I had a 17-year-old who had shot himself in the chest, and that messed me up for a long time. Because he came in talking to us. He was awake, alert. Yeah, he was awake, alert, talking to us, asking for water. And we put a chest tube in because the x-ray showed that he had a hemothorax. So when all that blood started draining from the lung, he coded. We cracked his chest in the ER.
Yeah. And if you don't know, a cracked chest, if people don't know, it's when we slice open a part of the chest, take this machine, I don't even know what it's called, but it basically cranks open all the ribs so you can get to the heart, and either cut the perineum, which is like overflowing with blood, or you manually pump the heart yourself. Is that right?
Yeah, and so that's what they were having to do, was manually pump his heart. And so they got the OR ready, and the surgeon's resident was straddling the patient, pumping his heart while we're running down the hall to the OR, and I'm running with the rapid transfuser. I'm covered in blood because I got so frustrated trying to set it up that a whole bag of blood dumped on me.
No.
But I'm like, I'm not stopping. Like, when we get this patient, then I'll change.
Yeah.
So I got another bag ready, and we're like pumping blood in him. There, she's massaging his heart. We get him up to the OR, and he survived. Okay, he's made it through surgery.
Oh shit!
But when he got to the ICU, he ended up coding again, and they couldn't get him back.
Yeah, because at that point he's just way too unstable.
Yeah, but 17 years old, and went to school with one of my coworkers and very good friend. Went to school with her son. And so it hit home for a lot of the people that worked in the ER, and for her child, knowing him, that was a tough one. I was also precepting someone at that time.
Shit, were you guys both on the case? You guys were both on it?
My preceptee had to basically, knock sense into me. She drugged me into the bathroom, and she was like, breathe. You're going to be okay. Like, put some water on your face, because I came back down from taking him to the OR, and I just lost it. Like, I don't even remember what I said. I just know I was crying and I was screaming, and she was like, yanks me into the bathroom, and she's like, you got to get it together. You got to stop, breathe, stop. And I'm still covered in blood at this point. And she's like, you need to go change. Okay. Slow down, Go change your scrubs.
Oh God. You don't remember what you were trying to do or say?
I was just upset and trying to get out so many things that my mind was like nothing about what we could have done differently. And, I wanted that kid to be okay so bad.
Yeah. And as a level 2 trauma center, do you guys have a pediatric section in your ER?
No.
No, you don't.
They don't have a specific pediatric area, no.
Where I worked, the two hospitals I worked at, you had your pediatric section and you had your regular ER section. And the pediatric nurses aren't fucking with the adult patients. The adult nurses aren't fucking with the pediatric patients, right? So I can only imagine.
Well, yeah, we get kids and adults and same nurses, same doctors.
Which is really hard. You have to know your shit for both pediatrics and adults. They're very different. Like I said, when I was working at the ERs I've worked at, a pediatric nurse would never lay hands on an adult nurse. An adult nurse, if they saw a pediatric patient in triage, they would fucking run. They're not coming near them. And as for you guys to have like these crazy traumas at a level 2 trauma center with adults and kids and a fetus too, right? Like that's probably one of the worst things that can happen to an ER nurse, having a pregnant woman come in who's sick.
I had a patient who delivered a fetus. Like, we got her out of the wheelchair.
Ashley, stop. I can't handle it. I can't handle it anymore.
We put her on the bed, and as soon as she hit the bed, the baby was out.
Oh, shit.
So I had to leave him, like, he's still attached to the cord. So I had to leave him between her legs until the OB got down there and could try to help deliver the placenta and stuff. But Even the OB doctor looks at me and she's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm good. I'm good."
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I'm
I'm
really
good. I'm
not.
good.
But
Yeah,
I'm
of
just
course
like, I'm
not.
gonna be there for, whatever to help the patient.
Yeah, you'll cry to yourself later in the
But
bathroom,
the
not
the
in front of the
mom
patient.
was the mom was so strong. Like, I was like, "I can't believe how, like, good you're doing right now. Like, you're an inspiration to, you know, just everyone. Like, you're so strong right now." And,
Yeah.
I mean, I
Oh,
think she knew she was high risk, so I think she had prepared herself for a bad outcome, but still, it was still, it was still terrible. That little baby boy
uh,
just
yeah. And again, just to the man, you deal with a lot of shit. I wanted to be very clear. Like the ERs I worked at, we did not get shit like this that often, if not at all. Okay, like you are a special person, and the ER you work at is crazy.
all of the nurses that I work with, specifically Vicky, Deanne, and I wanna say my friend Casey, they're like my crew. They're like my go-to if I need help. They're amazing people and amazing nurses, and, they just some of the best people you could ever know.
You need those people, or like, I mean, how do you go to work every day and deal with that shit without emotional and physical support from your coworkers?
Emotional damage.
Emotional damage.
Emotional damage.
Oh
Yeah.
my god, and
I get tattoos, like, that's a therapy for me.
you get tattoos of that are associated with the situations that happened, or
No, I just, I like tattoos, so I just get tattoos and, like, that's part of my self-care.
most of our patients are just old people,
Yeah.
right?
I don't think, the, like, everyday person understands that, "Oh, you're working the ER, you're gonna see all this exciting stuff." No, not most of the time.
Yeah, not most of the time. Again, it's just people old people with chest pains, shortness of breath, their falls, family members are just a little too scared about what's going on, just bring them in.
If I like you, don't like you, we work together, I'm gonna help you. I've
Yeah.
always been that way. I just can't see someone struggling and not offer assistance.
Have you always been this person? Where did it come from? Is that an experience or a person who's inspired you to be this like great empathetic nurse and coworker?
I think it probably comes from my close relationship with my grandmother. She's like me in my ER in her hometown. She's the person that everyone, looks to for help, and she offers help without being asked. So I feel like, growing up watching her do that, she instilled that in me.
When I was working at the ER, I mean, it just meant so much to have somebody like you to look to in case I needed help or I was drowning. Someone who just does not judge you for asking for help, and kind of just helps you just because.
I'm never gonna judge you. I will always jump in if you need help, even if you don't ask.
I guess one time you heard a patient and there was a combative patient and you ran across the unit to tackle them.
Yes, I know what the time that she's talking about. So she was working in the trauma area. I was working in the chest pain area. And I was in a patient's room drawing blood or starting an IV. And I hear her telling the patient, "Sir, it's okay. You're at the hospital. We're here to help." But I heard distress in her voice. So I put down what I was doing and I ran towards where I heard her voice. And I see her standing outside of the room, and I just go past her and basically jump on. I see the tech has the patient like in a hold, and he's like trying to fight to get up. And so I jump across the bed onto his legs to hold his legs down. And we're finally able to get him to calm down. And I don't know if he had a seizure, but he was like face down on the bed on his knees. And she saw him that way, and it looked like he wasn't breathing at first. But then whenever the tech went in to get him up and make sure he was breathing, he got combative. And that's whenever she said, hey, we're here to help you. But just hearing my friend in distress, here I am running through the ER to make sure that she doesn't get hurt.
You don't normally have to get physical with patients, right? It's got to be pretty rare. Do you normally wait for security, or do you guys usually have to take things into your own hands?
We do ask for security's help, but they are usually the same age as the patients that are coming in for broken hips. And they can't really do very much. So I'm usually there are times when I have to be security.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm really
yes.
not afraid. And my husband gets upset with me a lot of times. He's like, you're gonna get really hurt. I'm not gonna let my coworkers put themselves at risk over me, because I feel like they have more to lose. I don't have children. All the people I work with, most of them have children. And I would rather it be me than one of them.
I was going to say about the security thing, though. Not only, sometimes they're either the same age as, your geriatric population, or they're just way too young and a little small. Like, how do you expect this type of security guard to go take on a guy who's like, 6 foot and combative? I had a situation where we had a very combative patient, and we had to get physical with him because the security guard took one look at the guy and was like, I'm not touching him. So me and my charge nurse at the time had to go wrestle, tackle him. I got the legs because I'm small. I was smaller than my charge nurse.
Yeah.
And he pretty much just sat on his back and waited until more backup security could come.
It happens like that, where you have to try to improvise until you can get more hands to help.
Yeah. Sometimes you're just trying to and eventually it's everybody gets one limb, and hopefully we can get some medication to calm this person down.
So the thing about me is I'm going to restrain you 100%. Like, if you're being combative and I need to treat you, and a lot of times we're short-staffed and we don't have those extra hands. So it's just straight up, I'm going to restrain you.
It's the same thing with me. I think I remember I put out a video about restraints, like tips from the ER restraints, and people got so upset that I said, that's like one of the first things we do. If you're being combative or if you're being uncooperative, we're going to throw some, Velcro straps on you, right? Nothing too crazy.
That's all it is. It's for the patient's safety and our safety. It's not to be mean.
Absolutely. But, people got so upset. They're like, oh, you're supposed to be empathetic. You're supposed to be able to talk them down and calm them down. I'm like, bitch, you do not understand. If you don't work in the ER, we do not have fucking time for this. Okay. You have to cooperate.
Were these people that were in healthcare, or were they just that were responding being upset? Because I feel like all the healthcare people were laughing at this video, yeah, they know exactly what you mean. And
the people who are being the most vocal obviously do not work in healthcare, don't get it. And, they see it from the outside looking in, they see it and they're just like, this is terrible. How could you? So yeah, no, most people were not healthcare workers. We got a job to do.
Yeah. And a lot of times people don't understand, with patients with dementia, they have no idea where they are and they're scared, and they think that they're back 20-something years old, and they can literally, they'll try to beat our ass literally because they're afraid of us.
Yeah. Not only are they going to try to beat our ass, but if they get up and they fall, I mean, it's a whole thing, right? And we don't, the ER, we don't have this. We try to get sitters, but sometimes it's not in the cards.
I mean, just the other day, I had a lady who had already fallen and hit her head and was trying to get up and was not in her right mind at all. I tried talking to her and explaining to her, and I was like, fuck it. I'm just going to have to restrain you. I'm sorry. I don't have time for this. We're so busy right now. And if you get up and fall again, then you could already have a brain bleed. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Put some little Velcro straps on her. She couldn't get out of bed, and turned out that she ended up being okay. She didn't have any injuries, but still.
We have Velcro straps, but we also have leather restraints, which is what we use for like our really big and combative patients, which is a little bit more cruel. So Velcro is like baby
Right.
steps.
Yeah.
The other question I wanted to ask is like, I guess, how do you fight against burnout? Because when you go through like seeing young people, not make it, and you're covered in blood, and your mind's racing, and you're trying to save them, and it doesn't work out despite your best efforts. It's just like, how do you fight from going crazy?
It's important to, like, when you're not working, take time for yourself, do something that you genuinely enjoy doing. Make sure you set aside specific time for that, and spending time with your family and, other people who make you happy. I have appointment to get a massage once a month. I get my tattoos. I do like movie night with my husband, and we go to concerts. Like, we go to a lot of live music, and that's something that we do together that we enjoy. Like, I think that's probably the most important thing, is make sure you set aside time for yourself and separate from work, like just only for you. And that's how I've combated being, going crazy and having burnout. And the burnout, for me, doesn't really come from these difficult patients, because I feel like I've, done as much as I possibly can to help these patients. The burnout comes from people who come in the ER for bullshit, like not emergencies. And I feel like they're coming in there wasting resources when I could be, taking care of someone who genuinely has an emergency.
What's the average wait time over there?
8 hours. I mean,
yeah,
it's been pretty bad lately during the day. At night, it gets a little bit less, because I feel like sometimes you get like a rush of people, and you don't have any more beds. So
that's the worst at night. If on the off chance that it does get super busy, first of all, you're working with half the resources, right? Because everybody, you don't have the same team on days as you have on nights, and if it gets busy, you're completely fucked.
There was a situation where because I recently went from weekend day shift to night shift. It's a weird shift. It's 3P to 3A. When I get there, it's balls to the wall.
Yep.
Busy. And then it kind of slows down usually, getting closer to 3 a.m. But before I started on the night shift, they told me of a situation where they had a alpha trauma and a cardiac arrest at the same time. So the guy had slit his own throat, and there was a cardiac arrest. And so they had 2 nurses for chest pain, 2 nurses for the trauma area. So you got 4 nurses trying to work a cardiac arrest and a alpha trauma in the middle of the night.
Jesus. For those of you who are listening, an alpha trauma at your ER means what?
It's the highest level trauma. We're calling everybody, all the surgeons.
Everybody's getting out of bed. They're coming to the ER.
Right. Yeah. And we're going to have to transfer this person to a level 1 trauma center. I think in this situation, he was able to be taken to surgery, and they were able to repair it, because he wasn't stable enough to get flown out until they could do some type of repair. Like a 9-year-old whose face is split in half from the nose down. Her mom was taking her to cheerleader practice, swerved so she wouldn't hit a dog, hit a fence, a pole from the fence goes in this kid's face. And so we get her. She's awake. And she's like tapping the tech, pointing to her face. Like, I don't know if she was trying to say, I can't breathe, because there's blood everywhere. So we have ICU, like everybody's coming down, because she's also an alpha, trying to help. We have to stabilize her enough to fly her out to a pediatric, specialist. We have sheets taped around her face so that it won't come just flopping apart.
Oh yeah, to fucking keep the face together. That is fucking horrifying.
So the ICU intensivist intubated her from the front.
How did they fucking find anything that was there?
They brought their shit down from the ER to special shit that we didn't have in the ER. That situation was really a lot of cooks in the kitchen because it was a kid. Everybody wanted the best outcome for her. But we were able to get an airway, and there's nowhere to stabilize it on her face though. So literally you got the RT is staying with her holding the tube. And this is like shift change type. There's a cardiac arrest also going on in chest pain while we're
at the same time that this girl was.
She just rolled in, like the ambulance brought her in. We put her on the stretcher, and then I hear cardiac arrest coming in 19, and then right behind the little girl comes I think it was an older man who was in cardiac arrest. So luckily, this was all the day shift was there. The night shift were coming in. So we had more people. Yeah.
Oh yeah. That's like, I mean, it's not that any situation is the best, but like, that's like, when the night shift is coming in.
If it was going to happen, it's needed to happen then. Yeah.
Yeah. Cause you pretty much doubled your staff for like 15, 20 minutes. And if the day shift people are nice enough, they'll stay and help, right?
Yeah.
Not just dump it off to the night shift. But wow. Actually, like I'm like 2 or 3 years removed from the ER, but these stories, like I don't know how much I miss them. Go ahead.
Emergency medicine is where that's where I want to be, like what I like to do, but it is really, really hard. And I don't know how much longer, like mentally, I'll be able to do it. I think that I will have to give it up soon so that I don't like really damage myself.
Yeah. Because, it's not normal. These stories and to see these things is not normal. Like this is stuff you're supposed to go to war and see and come back traumatized with PTSD. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I feel like my coworkers are like my fellow soldiers.
Yeah.
Like when we go to work, we're going to war, going to battle.
God. And I always said when I left the ER, I don't necessarily miss the work or like what I did in the ER, but man, I miss the people. I fucking loved them,
I've met so many great people working in the ER. I mean, just working in healthcare in general, but you spend a lot of time working 12-hour shifts with people. And then you also see some horrible shit when you work together in the ER. So, that's like a different type of relationship.
Yeah. It's a different type of trauma bonding where you're helping to save like a fucking 20-year-old who's pregnant and not going to make it.
Oh,
right?
she was younger than that. She was.
Oh God, stop it.
Like 15 or 16. She was a teenager.
Gulfport, Mississippi. Oh my God. Can't wait. I'm going to have a comedy show there. I'm going to invite everybody. I'm going to see what this place is about. What do you think is like the most important lesson you've learned from your career as a nurse? If
you don't know, ask. Like if you're not sure, ask for help. Don't just like blindly go do something. I for a while was like, oh, they're going to think I'm dumb if I don't just go do this or whatever. But no. If you have any kind of concerns or reservations, or if you just don't know, ask for help.
Yeah.
Like that's probably the most important lesson that I've learned the hard way in my career.
Yeah. When you let your ego get in the way, either you think like, I got this, I don't need help, or you think people are going to judge me for asking for help. I mean, that's when bad things happen in the ER.
Yeah, makes you dangerous if you can't stop and ask if you don't know what you're doing.
It takes a while to learn that, I think, just because there are, I love the ER staff, but there are some people who work in the ER who are just completely burnt out, and it's so hard to be happy when you're working with them, right? Because they're so unhappy, they're so burnt out, and like everything kind of pisses them off, and you don't want to talk to them or interact with them. What's crazy is like some of the most burnt out nurses are the ones you want in like the trenches with you, because like they know what the fuck they're doing, right?
Yeah, they know their shit.
Which is, I don't know, maybe that's why they're burnt out, but like some of the most burnt out nurses are, I'm like, if there's an emergency, I want you there. I just never want to talk to you outside of this emergency.
Yeah.
Right?
I look at it as a challenge though with those coworkers. I'm like, I'm going to make you like me, or I'm going to make you smile at one point today.
Oh God, no, I couldn't. But That's good. Good on you for thinking that way. So what's one thing you wish patients knew about the ER before coming in? What's something that's misunderstood? I mean, we went over a lot already, but like, what's anything else at the top of your head that you think you'd want to tell the patients before coming into the ER?
You're gonna wait. It's the emergency room. So if you're not having a true emergency, you will wait.
Yes. And if in a true emergency is the one of many stories that Ashley has told you on this interview. So if it's nothing coming close to that, you're probably going to be waiting, right?
Yes.
No doubt in my mind, and I doubt in anybody's mind, that you are one badass motherfucking nurse who, out of Gulfport, Mississippi, like words cannot explain how much respect I have for you working there and like going through this bullshit of, the ER drama. But man, thank you. Thank you for what you do, making healthcare a better place. And your coworkers love you. Your patients love you, as evidenced by the Daisy Award that you won. So, thank you.
Well, I mean, thank you for letting me come on and tell my stories so that, you have such a large platform. So it really means a lot that, this will reach a lot of people. So thank you for the opportunity.
Oh, fuck yeah. This is going everywhere. Okay, great. We're gonna stop recording real quick. Thanks for listening to the Badass Motherfucker podcast. If you have a coworker who you believe is a badass motherfucker, head over to badassmotherfucker.com to nominate them. My goal is to highlight and share more stories of healthcare workers doing exceptional work in their community who deserve a little bit more recognition. If you enjoyed today's podcast, please give us a like, leave a review, and share it with your friends. Hell, slide into my DMs and tell me yourself. I can't wait to bring more stories your way. But until then, keep being the badass motherfucker that you are.